I knew this episode was coming. I've reread this part so many times. Hell, I've even animated it, and still, it didn't stop the goosebumps from kicking in. I really cannot stress how brilliantly written this entire backstory is, and I also cannot be more thankful for everyone who has been adapting this anime so brilliantly so far. This chapter is such a big task, yet the people at Kinema Citrus, both storyboarders, producers, writers, animators, the whole studio, made this shit look easy. God, I'm so overjoyed at how brilliantly it captured this entire sequence. But that being said, man, why they gotta cut out the lesbian sex sequence? Hello everyone, welcome to another Made in Abyss Season 2 episode review. Today we'll be looking at episode 7, The Cradle of Desire. Now, much like the last review, the series seems to be following the manga quite closely, so this would definitely favour the anime onlys a bit more, but once again, there are still some small details that were left out that I'd like to bring up in this video. But before that, I want to again just sing praises where they are truly deserved. I really, like a broken record, want to thank Kevin's composing work, and the musicians, both instrument players and vocalists alike, for really bringing this episode to life. I never expect the somber melodies in this adaptation, yet every time it happens, it just fits so hauntingly well. I'm so ready for this soundtrack drop, dude. You have no idea. I think it really works considering the show we are working with. While how insanely dark this series gets is somehow always surprising, the rules have always been there, making the body horror just feel kind of second nature to everything. I think the beautiful melodies that play over these haunting visuals just encapsulates that. We were always surrounded by these terrible things from the start. These awful things we see are just part of what it means to take on the Abyss. And another quick credit dump is on the fucking exceptional Seiyu's work depicting Iramue. I knew Misaki Kuno has always had range, but she takes it to another level with this role. It just gives me even more hope for Puta's voice work. She has some insane moments later, and I cannot wait to see this Seiyu live up to that task. But enough praises, as there is plenty more to come. Let's get on to the manga changes. So a small detail at the start of the episode, Belaf actually calls out the idea of the Golden City as a terrible joke considering what had just happened to the team. Which, I mean, fair, this doesn't seem very golden to me. Another detail I noticed is that the anime jumps chapter orders a bit in this episode. The entire Naruhade entering the lift sequence is actually from chapter 47, one chapter backwards in time, when they first landed in the layer. It actually works better in the anime because there's actually a weird inconsistency in the manga. Because in the manga, the moment they land in this new layer, they see the interference units. Whilst in the anime, due to some clever editing, they managed to give off the illusion that in between the time of the elevator landing in the 6th layer and the meeting of the interference units, they had run a test on the elevator before. Just a clever writing workaround, I thought. When talking about the locations of water sources too, the manga gives a very small but interesting glimpse at the deadly creatures that guard those areas. They haven't made a resurgence or anything in the manga, but it's an interesting design choice. Just when you thought the Abyss couldn't get any worse, you get Lion. The interference units state that there are 3 spots where there is access to water, with very little creatures surrounding them. When Vaiko and the squad search for water, they actually briefly look at those other 2 options before ending up at the faded tainted water later on. The first water supply is completely contaminated in mining residue as the tower within this layer has fallen over completely, spilling its rustic remains into it, whilst the other is so hot that it's deadly, not just to humans, but to the interference units as well. Ajapoka even calls out the interference units for this miscalculation. I mean, like, fair and all, but these robots are trying their best, dude. Also, why was my lesbian moment cut out? So during the montage after Vaiko and Iramue embrace, there is a small comedic panel where both Vaiko and Pakian are playing Twister, and Iramue happens to notice. It doesn't really do much for the story, but it does establish a certain kind of chemistry between the two. I can't say much due to spoilers, but this episode weirdly cut out many of these two's interactions, which I thought was strange as Pakian is a character with some level of depth to her. Also, when this first happened in the manga, some people for some reason were weirded out by it, but I gotta ask those people, if you're down that far in the Abyss, I think a bit of human intimacy is comforting. You telling me that you wouldn't bust a nut in the Abyss to blow off some steam? I mean, I wouldn't because of the chastity belt that I'm wearing, but we also get a greater breakdown of how the water organism actually operates. As we know, this being is almost microscopic. It's only noticed when Vaiko analyzes Iramue's diarrhea. This organism actually disguises itself as water and waits for creatures to drink it. It then inhabits the consumer's body and then turns them into more terrain for them to prosper. Cheeky little critters, honestly. I love the survival instincts and biology of these creatures. The Abyss is full of so many interesting ideas, like they all seem so well thought out. Also, Wazgun describes the taste of the water as sweet, just thought I mentioned that. Another difference is that Pakian comes in to check on Vaiko like the good wife she is, thinking Vaiko has actually already caught the worst of the disease, but in truth she has just been shouldering a lot of responsibility, so she's incredibly overtired and starving. And finally, the only other thing worth pointing out is that the interference units, thanks to their immunity to the curse, actually put their safety at risk a fair amount to bring the group water from the other water holes, but it turns out even that water was undrinkable. They wanted to help the group as much as they could during these dire circumstances, as the squad were capable of large-scale ventures outwards due to the rapid climb of mock water cases. But honestly, that's actually it for the manga. Not much was changed, to be perfectly honest. So now, it's episode review time. Let's go through a quick synopsis of the episode. So we reunite with the Ganja Corps and they tie up their newly acquainted friends of interference units. The units and the team come to an agreement and decide to team up. The interference units will assist the Ganja Corps providing their services wherever they can. In exchange, they simply want to fulfill their duties to study and learn about everything they possibly can. We go back in time a little while ago and we see that the Ganja Corps test the elevator to see if they can return upwards if need be. They use an Arahate who happened to succumb to the curse of that layer, with a life reverberating stone in hand to test his theory, only to truly learn that they haven't escaped the Abyss's curse. Returning from this point is truly impossible. The team decide to venture further into the Abyss to truly find the Golden City Wazuki has prophesied since episode 1. The team, however, are low on rations. Water is an essential requirement, so they begin planning their excavation. Iramue also helps translate the netherglyphs of the Abyss, and Vaiko teaches her their native tongue. We learn that Iramue's tribe often marks its villagers with patterns when they are of a certain age. Iramue was branded as a sacrifice to the Abyss as she was unable to bear children. One incredibly cute interaction later that helps establish how close in trauma these two characters are, and Best Boy Wazuki just being totally chill, we learn that there are 5 locations in total that have water supplies that don't have paths that elevate too much, reducing their risk of being hit with the curse, but 2 of those are swarming with deadly creatures, and the other 2 have high risks of their own. Relying on that final source, the team venture out to secure water for the Ganja Corp tribe. After boiling the water in hopes of ridding it of toxins and hunting creatures for food, the team seem in high spirits. Vaiko and Iramue share a beautifully wholesome moment together where Iramue breaks down about how she truly felt abandoned and alone when the tribe wrote her off as a sacrifice because her body is damaged. Vaiko, relating due to her terrible past with this fucking asshole, comforts her. While being unable to fulfill the role of Iramue's mother, Iramue simply wants Vaiko to keep being Vaiko. God, this show, dude, so painfully beautiful. A brief montage later, Vaiko awakens to an incredibly sick Iramue, but she isn't the only one in this state. The entire Ganja Corps is slowly but surely succumbing to a sickness yet to be discovered. While Belaf goes to investigate the source, Pakian shows Vaiko the food survey team, who appear to have taken up a strange stone-like appearance. We learn that the water they have been drinking is actually an organism that has turned various creatures into solidified flesh-like beings, but without the water, they have no chance of surviving the Abyss, so they take it back with them and they will inform the rest of the Ganja Corps regarding the water's circumstances. Back at the camp, Wazuki discovers a relic hidden in one of the food survey's team bags, which is then identified by the interference unit as a strong relic possessing the power to essentially grant wishes. This relic is called the Cradle of Desire. They advise that it should be used only by children, as their wishes are incredibly simplistic, whilst adults have a complex view of their dreams which would complicate the end result. It's basically too hard to shape. Iramue's body begins to deform, and Vaiko is officially out of options. The team decide to leave the fate of their journey in Iramue's hands by giving her the relic and praying that her wish will grant them salvation to some degree. The relic attaches itself to Iramue. It seems her wish was granted, but she doesn't recall what her wish exactly was. The team merely wait to see how the wish will take shape, and unfortunately, it looks like this. Iramue begins producing what she believes are children. These small living beings, however, seem to die within hours after birth. She's producing these children only for them to die over and over again in her arms, and it begins to drive her crazy. We cut to Vaiko after what seems to be a couple of days since that dreaded scene, and she has officially succumbed to the mock water. On the brink of death, however, Wazuki feeds her some soup. This soup relieves her mock water symptoms almost instantly, but Vaiko is unsure of its contents. She goes to confront Wazuki, but very quickly pieces together what's happening, and Wazuki's final line confirms that disturbing truth. That kid saved everyone. Goosebumps, y'all. This episode was so brilliantly handled. The anime's been doing nothing short of an incredible job at encapsulating just how desperate and hopeless the situation for the Ganja Corps actually is. I adored this episode so much. In fact, I would say it's one of my favorites so far of this season. That being said, next week's episode is going to shake the entire Made in Abyss fandom like crazy, and I cannot wait. If you thought this was insane, just wait till next week. And then a couple weeks after that when my favorite chapter gets animated. But anyway, Let's talk about this episode. Now, while I will be honest, the anime, as disturbing as it is, doesn't quite land the horror of Ramue's transformation quite like the manga did, and if I'm honest, it made Wazukin a lot less terrifying. That being said, still a fantastic job overall, obviously, and I feel it genuinely adapted this story better than the manga already has. I just think that these panels are a lot more terrifying and overall disturbing because of how the manga utilized its only two colours. More specifically, how it lit these scenes using these only colours. The anime, while it does bring out a lot more details due to its colours, also takes a bit of that cynicism away because of how much brighter it is compared to the source material. The source material just feels a lot more bleaker and darker and just overall more upsetting and claustrophobic. But that's honestly my only gripe. I just thought I'd get that out of the way. I will say, I am such a fan of how this episode was paced, by the way. It uses 2 whole chapters worth of content, as well as a fraction of a third so seamlessly. It never felt overbearing, and it gave certain sequences the room to truly breathe. One sequence I really want to bring up regarding this is the sequence between Iramue and Veiko when they're embracing each other. This scene I refer to as the warm darkness scene. I think this sequence was handled phenomenally in the anime. I love how despite how little we've actually seen of these characters together in the anime, you can still feel how close they are from both the way they talk and the way they communicate through their body language. I really adore the voice acting in this sequence too. It also gave me butterflies and just made the eventual result of Ramue's wishes more upsetting. Veiko being forced to basically stand by and watch as her warm darkness suffers in this way is so painful, and the anime did such a great job at encapsulating that. Also, let's talk about my boy Wazukin. I genuinely love this character so much. I mean, I made an entire video about him ages ago, so I won't say much as to not tap into spoilers, but he is proving himself to the statement I made in that video. That statement being, he is truly the most complex character in the entirety of Made in Abyss. While anime onlys may despise him right now, all I can do is pose this question. Do you think his decisions have merit as a leader? Hold on to your answer though, because his character depth is a lot more deeper than you think. I also do like how not sudden this shift is as well. As we know from the first episode of the series, he will do whatever it takes to bring his dreams to fruition. This isn't just a sudden dark turn of events. While yes, it was in desperation, his actions have always been at the forefront of his dreams. He will do whatever it takes to get the Ganja Corps to the Golden City. It makes you wonder just if he truly is possessed by the divine. And hell, if gods don't play by the rules and are omniscient, then why shouldn't Wazukin follow in their example? God, I love this series, man. I don't think anything has ever touched me quite like Made in Abyss has. And this episode is just a testament to that. This series is so special and I hope everyone is enjoying themselves as much as I am. I'm once again super happy with this adaptation so far and I cannot wait for future episodes. Just so much good stuff is about to go down that not even the manga can prepare you for it. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining me on this flight to a little island I call Depression. Don't forget to pick up your free goodie bag on the way out. It has all the essentials you'll need for next week's episode, like tissues for crying, and a pacifier, which is also for crying. Hey, thanks for making me a part of your day, and I hope to see you next week for what will be a truly phenomenal experience. With that, I'll see you all next week, even deeper in the abyss.